Politics and is a familiar face here on CTV News Channel. And from Montreal, Graham Dodds. He is a professor of political science at Concordia University and an expert on United States domestic policy, something that is going to be front and center this evening. Good evening to both of you, gentlemen.
Hi, Marcia.
Good evening. Hello.
So we have just been watching them come into the House this evening, and I had to chuckle when I saw that these people that are out shaking everyone's hands are referred to as aisle hogs, or the ones who wait in line because they want to get the best spot to shake hands with the president. I want to begin with you, Solon. It is a big night for the president after the shellacking, to use his word, the party took in the midterms, and then a recent surge in the polls for his leadership following the Tucson shooting. So can I get a few thoughts from you on what we can expect to hear tonight from the president?
Well, Marcia, the president actually has a fairly easy job tonight, believe it or not. He has to provide an exclamation point to this incredible bounce in the polls that he's had since the November midterm elections. He has to focus on the economy, direct attention there, jobs, toward a vague and nebulous concept called competitiveness in the international economy. And he has to deal with the fears that Americans have about the incredible debt burden we face. I think, though, the president's story is coming together tonight in a way that's quite shocking. And if we go back to the big stimulus bill of 2009, which actually went by the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, we see the two parts of the story. The first half of his presidency is about recovery, getting out of the terrible recession. The second half is about reinvestment, and this is going to be what we're going to see him talking about tonight. And this is where the competitiveness idea comes in, because he's going to be talking about reinvesting in America in education, in infrastructure, and also in the American spirit to compete. We're going to see the Sputnik moment tonight. So that aspect of reinvestment, which was downplayed in the very name we use of the stimulus, is going to come forward, and it's going to be the centerpiece of what we see today. And there we see the narrative arc for the entire presidency. The first 2 years about recovery, the second 2 year about reinvestment. And we'll see if this is actually a major address that we'll remember decades hence.
Graham, your thoughts, because we have to see, I believe, a reshifting tonight. A different president, given what happened in November. What are you thinking we're going to hear from the president this evening?
Right. I think he'll return to this theme of civility. It's been part of his mantra ever since he got into politics, and I don't think it's opposed. I think it's part of who he really is. Obama believes in getting along with people who disagree with him and maybe even don't much like him. I think he's going to try to continue that tonight, and the political reality, as you say, is he's got to reach out somehow across the aisle to Republicans who now control the House of Representatives. And even though many of them are going to shake his hand tonight and want to be seen on camera with him, they don't like him and they don't like what he wants to do. And he's going to have to try to find some common ground. It's no small task. He's good at least giving a good talk and getting people on the other side to perhaps not dislike him personally. But it's going to be tough for him to articulate policies that the new Republican House is going to get behind. Look, behind him tonight is going to be John Boehner, who's going to be frowning a lot or trying his best not to frown because he doesn't agree with much of what the president wants to do whatsoever.
And yet this evening we're also going to see a symbolic show of unity when you have members of both parties sitting side by each. What do you make of that, Solon?
Well, I think that it suggests that the terrible tragedy in Tucson has had a dramatic effect. I mean, it's not the only thing that's been helpful in perverse ways. I mean, this is perhaps a perverse way to find something helpful, but this has been that's been helpful for the president. But I think that it's played to his strength, as Graham says. This is a president who's always emphasized getting along, civility, playing down the drama. And the Republican Party really needed that energy, they needed to be able to vilify the other side. They needed to be able to move forward with some oppositional energy. And that was what they brought with them into this new Congress. We see already that their legislation was derailed for an entire week by the tragedy. And it's going to be hard for them to get back to that energy of portraying Obama as something of a socialist or an extremist. He now is being portrayed as if he's a centrist, a moderate. If you've been paying attention to Obama, he's the same old guy. He's been telegraphing this for a long time, and he's simply sending different kinds of signals. And as I think, I'm starting to learn, in fact, that he's playing out a longer plan. And so the civility is very good for him because he is the most civil president we've had in a very long time.
Does his re-election campaign begin tonight, Graham?
It may well. He's going to say things tonight that will try, from his point of view, to set the stage to dictate how he's going to get along with this new Republican House and how he's going to try to play nice, but on the other hand, how he's going to try to distinguish himself and where he's going to draw the line. Look, he won't formally announce his candidacy for some time, perhaps a couple months down the road, but I think tonight he'll make it clear where he's going to reach across the aisle, where he's going to perhaps even adopt some conservative positions, but also where he's going to say, look, health care was right, and I'm not going to let you reject it. So I think Obama will indeed try to use the talk tonight to really set the stage for what's going to be a difficult political season.
And of course, we now see the president entering the House chamber, and he is scheduled to spend 1 minute shaking hands as he makes his way to begin his speech. Another first tonight, Solon, I want to ask you about, and that is the response. At the end of this, typically we hear from the Republicans. They have an opportunity to respond to the president's message. Tonight we're going to hear two, one from the Republicans and one from the Tea Party. What does that say about the unity between those two groups?
Well, it brings us back to the question of civility and incivility, and the fact that Republicans have a problem. They're split, and they have what we might think of as a radical fringe within the party. I mean, it plays on core concepts within the Republican mainstream, and yet the energy is confrontational. We saw in Sarah Palin's response to the Tucson tragedy that hasn't been playing very well. We'll see, I think, tonight if that faction can recover and regain some of what we might think of as the mainstream, the role in the mainstream.
Graham?
Yeah, it's true. You know, Republicans are happy because the Tea Party energy got them a lot more Republicans in Congress this year as compared to previous years, but there is this split. Look, the Tea Party and its folk, to the extent they have a coherent philosophy, it seems to be economic conservatism, whereas historically within the Republican Party, the real base, the real excitement has been around social conservatism. And I think this divide has been somewhat papered over, but it's going to reemerge really soon, especially as Republican candidates start to try to get out there in advance of the elections next year. It's going to be hard to sort of appeal to the Tea Party energy without alienating the traditional sort of Bible Belt religious social conservatives. So it is a big divide. And I should say Obama's got this problem within the Democratic Party too. There are a lot of liberals, progressives in the Democratic base who are not very happy with the president right now. They think he compromised far too much, that he sends up the white flag of surrender before the battle is even joined. And I think Mr. Obama not only has to reach out to conservatives, but maybe even to placate people within his own party.
And yet, recent polls are showing, following the Tucson shooting, that his popularity has seen a boost. How long can he ride that? Solon?
I think that he can ride it for at least a few more weeks. I think this speech will help us to see if he can continue on that path. And again, the Republican response is very important here. Can the Republicans get momentum back? Is the Tea Party, which really was the main focus, the concern about deficits, remember, debt, the debt burden, that's the energy, and it played off the Greek crisis back in May. Can they change the subject back there, or will it be a sense that that Obama has gotten the lesson of the 2010 election? The more people talk about that, the better it is for Obama, the worse for Republicans.
We have yet to see her, but First Lady Michelle Obama, of course, will be there this evening, and she has a number of special guests with her, including Danielle Hernandez, the legislative intern who aided Gabrielle Giffords after she was shot. Also the family of the 9-year-old, the little girl that was shot, Christina Taylor Greene, and Dr. Peter Ree. He's the trauma chief at the University Medical Center where Giffords was treated, and he, of course, gave a number of press conferences in those first few days and hours.